Welcome in, Forge Fiends. We are talking about our favorite metal albums from Bandcamp, where we dive into the treasure trove dungeons of Bandcamp and find some of our coolest metal albums.
This is one of our favorite segments because we get to find the secret gems and share them with you guys. If you love metal content like this, murder the like button and /subscribe if you're new.
Fresh meat.
I'm going to kick it off here with ELR Vexier. Swiss Doomgazers ELR have released a noteworthy record this month. Vexier is backed by Prophecy Productions. Pretty big deal. This trio delivered a hypnotic record that is more akin to some of my favorite drone albums. There's not a whole lot of episodic climaxes on this record, as there is basically just a tunnel of noise with musical movements inspired by doom, black metal, and post-metal. Think of the Swiss version of Earth, the drone band, not the planet. They really lean into creating a blanket of atmosphere that drifts in and out like a foggy harbor. In head-to-head with Sylvain's latest release, I would probably take ELR, but not by much. I don't anticipate revisiting this album anytime soon, but this is definitely a band that I will be keeping on my radar. Vexier gets 3.5 out of 5 tiptoeing wood maidens.
My first pick here is Heavy Meta, Regmata, released February 11th, 2022. I'll come out and say there are not many bands that sound like Heavy Meta. They're tough to quantify. Although that this is a great thing, if you don't really like extreme metal that pulls from really weird, this may be a sidestep for you, but I recommend that you give this one at least one solid spin. This band is basically 100% DIY, and that is a staggering thought to me given the production value on Regmata and also the artwork. The mixing, art design, compositions, everything on this record is completely masterful, and a lot of it is done by mastermind in the band, Kishore Hollenbeek. This is an album that leans 100% into making you feel uncomfortable, taking sledgehammers to the dome with influences of mathcore, noise rock, prog, and black metal, all rolled into one beautifully disgusting package. If you're missing bands like Dillinger Escape Plan and you want something a lot better than Vane.fm, give this Heavy Meta album a spin. You likely missed this one back in February, and it absolutely deserves your attention. 4 out of 5, Construction Worker Squids.
Schizophrenia have low-key released one of the coolest death metal records from this year with Recollection of the Insane. This Belgian OSDM thrash band put out this album as a split on Redefining Darkness Records, and I gotta say that front to back, this is just a really solid record, and they definitely did the split method a lot of justice. While these guys are young, they are seasoned musicians, and it definitely comes through with the musicianship and songwriting. There's some crazy solos on here that just really gives so much praise to the godfathers of the subgenre. There's some originality cut between the more obvious OSDM tropes, which really helps Recollections of the Insane stand on its own. It's not a groundbreaker by any means, but for all of you turds who say that originality is dead and no one is trying anymore, get over yourself and check out some of these bands that are not only paying homage to the great stuff that's already been written, but they're also injecting their own flavor into it. Recollections of the Insane gets 4.2 out of 5 Prisoners of the Sanitarium.
Yeah, honestly, anyone who says that in our comments is just not fucking listening to anything that's...
They're not watching our videos.
Yeah, obviously. Speaking of awesome records, the next one on my list is Konvent, Call Down the Sun, released March 11th, 2022. I stumbled across this album the other day, and all I can say is the atmosphere and bleakness of this album hits you in the face immediately. This is dark, sad, and lonely black and death doom from Denmark, and it's got some serious staying power in terms of continuous playback in my rotation. Napalm Records do a fantastic job of picking up bands with a vision vision in extreme metal. And it's clear that Konvent are barreling forward with laser-focused vision of bleakness and despair. One massive thing that stood out to me here are the vocals on Konvent are extremely unique. I honestly don't think I've really heard anything else like it. For a sophomore effort, this album is unbelievably good, and the productions and compositions on Call on the Sun keep me coming back over and over. Album of the Year list contender for me in the Doom category. Get on this if you missed it. 4.6 out of 5 Radiant Moonlights.
Very glad to see Konvent on here. Totally worth talking about. This is bleak. It is oppressive. You have to spin this one.
Those vowels that don't exist. Zorzysta, Staje, Oćma.
All right. First of all, I'm going to...
Sorry. Sorry for my Polish.
Wandering Wind is the English translation. I think we're going to stick with the English translation for now. So if you don't mind, I'm going to use that. Wandering Wind has released Zorzysta, Staje, Oćma, their third full length. This duo has been putting out full lengths sporadically since 2013. Without doing a super deep dive, they seem to be one of the bands that enjoys the process of hibernating with their music, taking the time to develop the stories and atmospheres they want to create. After almost 2 decades of atmospheric black metal, you've really got to put out something genuine to stand off the pack. I really think Wandering Wind have done this with this record, as they maintain a very lo-fi production while maintaining a strong foot in the waters of their folklore and musical heritage. Wandering Wind's album is definitely worthy of your time, despite it being a little bit long. This record deserves 4.2 out of 5 mythical sea beasts.
My third pick here is Messa, Close, released March 11th, 2022. 3 albums in for this band, and honestly, this is my first run with Messa. I don't typically gravitate towards Doom on the more progressive side, but when it's nailed, it stays with me for a long time. The compositions on Close are exceptional, leaning into longer territories. Some of the songs are over 9 minutes. Nothing on this record really overstays its welcome. Messa has a phenomenal ability to play with pacing and keep things dark, yet very interesting with progressive song structures. There's Middle Eastern and flamenco parts on the record, dark and dreamy soundscapes, but it's very clear that the band relies heavily on the masterfully composed and performed vocals of Sarah. Extremely unique, not only in tone, but also in patterns and arrangements. The vocals were easily the highlight of the album for me on Close. If you love your metal on the lo-fi and intense tape hiss side, definitely do not miss this record. Fantastic stuff. 4.2 out of 5 Withered Crones.
You are going to hear me talk about this album again. I promise you, great pick. Creeping Flesh, and then the bombs came. This was a suggestion from a couple of Forgemates. Thank you guys. You obviously know what we like and pay attention to what we listen to, so this is a great suggestion from you. Swedish death metalers Creeping Flesh have driven their tanks far into the lines with their sophomore release, and then the bombs came. Bolt Thrower Worship is far from being stale for me, but a band that wants to go in that direction has to deliver something authentic if they want to stand out. This band has done a very nice job of roping in their favorite war metal idioms without being, tiresome or cliche. Creeping Flesh has found a way to weave that HM2 buzzsaw sound with hardcore and death metal to create a range of metal that is definitely worth scoping out on this record. There's nothing groundbreaking here, but at least once a year, I just want a good old-fashioned bolt thrower doppelganger, and, well, here we are. And then the bombs came. Get 4 out of 5 sky-gazing skeletons.
And my last pick here is none Est Deus, Impious, released March 4th, 2022. Another band that was new to me entirely, hailing from Germany. Non Est Deus is composed of one-man metal composer Noise, also behind the band Kanonenfieber. Not sure why the single composer here needs so many metal bands, but you know what? I'm not complaining because this band is vicious in execution, checking all of the boxes of black metal ferocity mixed in with melodic tremolo, unholy Holy Fury. We say it all the time here at Forgemaster. We love when bands do things DIY, and Noise does everything on his own, which is freaking fantastic. If I had one small critique here, while I loved its shorter runtime, there were kind of some issues with the pacing, interrupted by a lot of spoken word sections, in my opinion. I love those, but there were just a lot of them on this record. Sort of felt like they kind of took me out of the atmosphere a little bit too much. But anyways, when this album is firing, it is absolutely obliterating you and holding nothing back. More of this, please. 3.8 out of 5 Sky Cloaked Ghosts.
And these are just some of the treasure troves of Bandcamp, friend. There is just a multitude of bands that are out there, and they're waiting for you and to be discovered. So what were some of yours? Be sure to leave them down below in the comments. Slit the throat of the like button and subscribe if you haven't already.
Go with the gods, Forge Masters. Make sure you got the phone handy for when you call down the sun. See you next time.